gentlemen, may we have your attention at the terminal, please? This one will serve as your second boarding reminder for passengers both on route terms of flight LH453 non-stop service to Munich. At this time, we ask for all confirmed passengers to please make your way through security and to gate number 150. Your flight is now in the process of boarding. Thank you.
Good afternoon, or even good evening. Welcome back. We are now on day 3 on our trip, and this afternoon, evening and morning flight will be conducted via Los Angeles International to Oslo Gardermoen. Relief Captain Per Åkerman will be the pilot flying, and he's right now preparing the flight, loading the navigational data, performance, etc. And we're right now cleaning the cabin. And before the cleaning is completed, the cabin crew is not allowed to go on board. But as soon as they are on board, we will do the joint briefing. Thank you. What Per has been doing right now is to initialize the flight. That is done automatically, and it is done via our ACAR system. It is sent to the company, and it comes back with flight number, with date, with crew numbers, etc. 2 minutes after that, Per requested the route. That means that we don't have to insert the route ourselves, and the route is the flight plan, hopefully to be seen in focus. And when that is done, he requests the winds for our route, and that is very convenient to request it, and we get very accurate data in that sense. Thereafter, he will check the route. He will insert the performance that is a fixed number, like the cost index or the preliminary zero fuel. That is not a fixed one, but we can get it from our flight plan. And right now he's loading his electronic flight bag, and he's doing that with help of the ATIS from the airport. Also, he's checking the route and checking the runway, which is in use, and also what we expect as SID, departure route. After that, we will be given the clearance, and then we have to check and cross-check what he has inserted toward or against what we have been received. And also, we just received preliminary load sheet, so we can insert that and load the performance on the EFB, and we wait till we get the final load sheet before we send the performance data from the EFB to the FMC, and that is done in approximately 25 or 30 minutes. Also, what is being done is to perform the pre-flight flows. The pilot in the right-hand seat has his flow, and the pilot in the left-hand seat has his flow, or hers. And Oliver, who's today sitting in the back of the jump seat, is right now doing the walk-around. And the walk-around you have been able to see earlier on. The flight time to Oslo is estimated 9 hours and 26 minutes, possibly a little bit longer, maybe 9:30 something, unless we are a little bit better with the winds and maybe some shortcuts coming into Oslo. We expect also a fairly smooth flight. After about 6 hours, there might be some bumps, but nothing bad to be expected, and that is according to the papers that we have, but the reality, as you probably know, could be something totally different. And almost full house, 289 passengers, a good load. We have 40 minutes till departure, so we better get going with the preparations. Thank you.
Hey. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen.
Good evening.
Good to see you again. I think I've flown with most of you guys before, especially two from yesterday, the day before even. My name is Klaus, if you have forgotten that. Swedish I am. And the colleagues in the cockpit, Per Åkerman, also Swedish guy, and Oliver Miller. He's British, but he can't help that. And I have a new shirt for you today. I'm going to sweat it in. So, yeah. Oslo.
Okay.
As you've seen, weather in Los Angeles is good. We expect runway 25. That means that it's not too far to taxi, but no problem for you. En route, weather is good, but in about 6 hours after takeoff, a little bit bumpy. And that's also regarding the following couple of hours. It goes up and down. Oslo's got good weather, southern winds. We expect a little bit short perch, hopefully. And flight time, 9 hours and 30 minutes. Pretty good, pretty good.
That's
so
great.
everybody's got a tight connection, like me, can make that.
Everyone.
Everyone, yeah. We are in Delta, L&D. Nothing special with the aircraft, no snags. And that goes both for the cockpit and for the cabin. And as I said a couple of days ago, the cockpit door is only locked for the passengers. So anytime you want to come up and see what we're doing, you're welcome.
Okay.
And that's about it. Gentlemen, something else?
No, nothing to add.
Okay. 289 passengers,
Yeah.
full house almost,
Full
so
house.
you'll be busy. Busy. And that's it for me. Any questions?
How would you like her to call when you make an announcement, Captain Kraus?
Yeah, that's okay. Or Soderbergh, whichever you want. Soderbergh might be easier. I don't know. It's all up to you. They won't listen to it anyway.
At le-
He's a captain.
Yeah, exactly.
Captain and number one.
Yeah, Soderbergh. Yeah. Means South Mountain.
Okay.
Yeah.
Los Angeles clearance, good evening, North Shuttle 708 West and 132, request clearance for Oslo.
So 7084 Heavy Electronics requested clear to Echo November Golf Mike Airport via the Loop 7 departure. Daggett transition. Then is filed. Climb via the SID. Accepts, maintain 5,000. Expect your final altitude 5 minutes after departure. Departure frequency is 124.3. Squawk 1034.
Okay, clear direct to Echo November Golf Mike via Loop 7 departure. Maintain the Daggett transition. Time according to the SID, but maintain 5,000 feet. Expect higher 5 minutes after departure. Departure frequency 124.3. Squawk 1034. North Shuttle 7084.
North Shuttle 7084 Heavy, readback is correct. Have a good flight.
Thanks, have a good day. Okay, then we are parked here 32. I expect us push back facing to the north. And then Sierra all the way out to probably Echo, and then Echo all the way down to 24 left. That's what you can expect as far as the taxi goes.
Check.
And as far as the departure, we will have the Loop 7 departure, which is on page 10-3 Hotel, effective the 6th of February. Departure frequency, as I said, 1243, 5,000 feet, as we have said in the window. And we expect to climb initially from 24 left, climb on a heading of 250 to cross Sierra Mike Oscar radial 160, which is in the FMZ, at 3,000 feet or below, or about 450 feet. Then we continue on the track 250, and then we expect vectors to continue over the LAX VR 10,000 feet and above. Okay?
Check.
And then as far as the emergency briefing,
Prior 80 knots, we stop for the 10 items stated in the QRH. After 80 knots, prior V1, 4 items, engine failure, engine fire, predicted wind shear, and clearly unsafe or unable to fly. I call stop, thrust levels to idle, auto throttle disconnect, verify max braking, reverse, and speed rates. Stop on the runway, cockpit set if we are able to, taxi off if we are able to that. I will call cabin crew at your stations, and your calls.
okay, if I will make sure that the speed rate comes up, and verify the braking with you. We'll make you call the runway distance available, and when we stop on the runway, I'll advise the tower that we stop on the runway. And if you're airborne, there will be no actions below 400 feet, except we can continue to put autopilot on the 200 feet. 400 feet, just tell a mail function, and if we have an engine failure or fire, we'll do recall items at that point. We continue today, there's no special in and out procedure, we continue runway heading. And as you see in the area here, we are out over the sea, so I think it suggests we continue climbing to 5,000 feet initially, and then we will request radar vectors, and we will see what we're going to do.
Yeah.
Any questions?
What we did say is if we reject and we have member items, you will perform them on my command.
Correct.
And if we are on fire, we assess the situation. And if we need to evacuate, we will do the QRH flip side evacuation checklist.
Down the backside.
Check. Very good. And as we said the other day, 2 days ago, only situation that we are in a hurry is if we are on a fire that won't go out. Then immediate return, wait for nothing.
That's
Otherwise,
right.
we'll smooth the comp, follow all the procedures.
Yeah.
Okay.
No
Anything else?
questions?
Good.
Good. And ground North Shuttle 7084 Heavy. Stand 132, request push and start.
North Shuttle 7084 Heavy, LA ground. Wait for the Heavy 777 New Zealand to pass behind you. Then push back to approved tail to the south for runway 24 left.
Okay, behind New Zealand, pushback approved, tail to the south 24 left, North Shuttle 7084 Heavy. Traffic.
Ground left 567, taxi Juliet. Alaska 567, runway.
Go ahead.
Can you see Air New Zealand 777 behind us?
Copy, it's on Tango right now as we speak.
Very good. When we are clear of that traffic, we are cleared for push and start, tail to the south.
Copy, tail south after New Zealand. Can you release brake?
Parking brake released.
Copy.
Unable push back, cancel the south, able push back far enough for you. Also, something is unable push south, all trouble, 7966. Ground Alaska 157, Charlie 8, ready to taxi. Oslo 157, LA down. Runway 25, right, taxi by Bravo. 25, right, near Bravo, line 1. 42, Bravo, Delta 519, LA down, turn right onto Bravo, and to your gate. Delta 519, right on the line, 68 Alpha. Delta 1968, Alpha is on station around Bravo, hold short, Charlie 8. Delta 519, right on Bravo, hold short, Charlie 8. Move the RGA cover to me. Tower 102, Juliet.
Ground Cockpit. We are ready for any start anytime. We are clear to start engines, so we are ready anytime. Okay, starting right and left in sequence. Okay. Start right engine. Yeah. Check. Starting right. Start left. Starting left.
That's a good view.
Yeah, that's a great view.
Heavy turn left onto Charlie, and hold short of Tango. That's up to Charlie, hold short, that was a kitty. Sophie 102 to be Romeo, Charlie, hold short of
What a coincidence.
Romeo.
Yeah. It's lucky for your film.
Number 5720 Charlie, down take gate number. 57. 5722 taxi via Bravo, hold short of Papa. Bravo, hold short of Papa. 57.
Cabin ready. Running.
So 519, taxi at Charlie 6, make 2 left turn, full for Charlie 7, taxi in, 1 clear. Alpha 5722, taxi via Bravo, Charlie 9 into the gate. Bravo, Charlie 9 into the gate, Alpha 5722.
Is he stopping there in front of us? Yeah, just want to see that. Okay, push forward.
Ground North Shuttle 7084 Heavy is ready, taxi sequence.
North Shuttle 784 Heavy, runway 24 left, taxi via Sierra, and hold short of taxiway Delta.
Sierra, short of taxiway Delta, North Shuttle 7084 Heavy.
Hold short of Delta, Sierra, expecting right on Echo, 24 left.
North Shuttle 7096 Heavy, Telegram.
Yep, go ahead.
North Shuttle 7096 Heavy, behind Southwest, runway 24 left, taxi via Echo.
Okay, behind Southwest on Echo, North Shuttle 7096 to 24 left.
Southwest 3216, company up your right side on gate number 6 is going to push. Wait for them to taxi out, and then you push back into approved. After company Alpha 6 is out, push for Southwest 3216. Cactus 31 Alpha behind the heavy Dreamliner off your nose, taxi via Delta, hold short of Romeo.
Behind the Dreamliner, Delta, hold short of Romeo, Cactus 31 Alpha.
Hey, clear right.
Check, clear left.
Hey, couldn't be luckier for this movie, huh?
North Shuttle 7096 Heavy.
He goes ahead. He goes ahead of everyone. Of course, he puts the towel down first.
Correction, North Shuttle 7096 Heavy, runway 24 left, line up and wait.
Line up and wait, 24 left, North Shuttle 7096.
North Shuttle 7084 Heavy, LA Tower, turn left at Victor, hold short of runway 24 left.
Left at Victor, short of 24 left, North Shuttle 7884 Heavy. Okay, you get your turn.
Yeah, left on Victor. Hold short.
240 vectors, that's check. Oh yeah, good enough. I think it's not that much sun, so...
North Shuttle 7096 Heavy, wind 250 at 10, runway 24 left, clear for takeoff.
Okay, take off 24 left, North Shuttle 7096.
North Shuttle 7084 Heavy, caution wait turbulence, runway 24 left, line up and wait.
Line up and wait, North Shuttle 7084 Heavy.
Present 199, LA Tower, caution wait turbulence, Super Airbus 380 landing roll, heavy jet supply in the parallel, wind 250 at 10, runway 24 right, clear to land.
Okay,
24 right, clear to land, horizon air 199.
Tennyson 327 Super, roll down to Bravo, Bravo.
Upper Southwest 3216.
Up 3216, affirmative, as able, taxi to hold short, runway 24 left at Victor.
Hold your 2 left at Victor, Southwest 3216.
You're
Shuttle 7096 Heavy, contact SoCal departure, good day.
SoCal North Shuttle 10096, good day. Thank you. Okay, and I am ready.
North Shuttle 7084 Heavy, wind 240 at 10, runway 24 left, clear for takeoff.
Clear for takeoff, North Shuttle 7084 Heavy.
clear takeoff. Geo controls.
My controls.
Setting thrust.
731 LA Tower, flying at dash 83 mile final, heavy jet supply in parallel, caution with turbulence. Wind 240 at 9, runway 24 right, clear to land.
Clear to land.
Thrust descent. 80 knots.
Check.
And he's holding. The 380 is holding.
Okay, 5399, caution with turbulence traffic will cross downfield, runway 24 left, line up and wait.
24 left, line up and wait, sky with 399.
Rotate. Pulse rate.
Tennyson 327 Super, Bravo, Bravo, cross runway 24 left, taxi via Echo, Alpha, Alpha, and hold short Charlie.
And now.
Runway 24 left, taxi Echo, Alpha, Alpha, hold short Charlie, Tennyson 327.
Cross repeat.
North Shuttle 7084 Heavy, contact SoCal departure, good night.
Good day. North Shuttle 7084 Heavy.
Tennyson 327 Super on Alpha, Alpha, contact ground on .75.
Better go heading south.
Ground, the second all 75, 327, Super.
LA departure, North Shuttle 784, good evening. Loop 7, 1400, climbing 5,000.
84 Heavy, so departure radar contact, climb maintain 8,000.
Climb and maintain 8,000, North Shuttle 784 Heavy.
8,000, check. thing is not that much sound, so there you go.
I mean, doesn't it look like you go very slow?
It's not really slow. You're ready to cut?
Yeah, she got the view. There, thank you. Okay. And I am ready.
Shuttle 7084, heavy wind 24.10, runway 24 left, clear for takeoff.
Clear for takeoff, no shuttle 7084.
Clear takeoff.
Check.
Controls.
Light controls.
Setting thrust. Thrust is set.
Getting off the center line slightly.
8 knots.
Check.
And he's holding. The 3 he's holding. Rotates. Close the reins.
Yeah.
And now.
Check. Thrust readiness.
Shuttle 7084, heavy contact, SoCal departure time.
Shuttle 796 Heavy, turn left direct Los Angeles, VOR, climb maintain 13,000.
Direct Los Angeles 13,000, North Shuttle 7096.
North Shuttle 7084 Heavy, turn left heading 210.
Left heading 210, North Shuttle 7084 heavy.
Check left 210.
Left 2, yeah.
North Shuttle 7084 Heavy, turn left heading 130.
Left heading 130, North Shuttle 784 heavy.
Left
130.
North Shuttle 7084 Heavy, turn left direct Los Angeles.
Left direct to Los Angeles, North Shuttle 784 heavy.
Okay, LAX on top
015.
and LNAV.
It is on top, executing.
Approach,
Check.
658 kilo, please confirm clearance to Bravo.
LNAV.
Push 5 kilo affirmative, clear to Bravo via the coastal route, maintain VFR 6,500.
You see that area down there? That's Long Beach. You see the airport over there? See the runway, taxiways?
Oh yeah?
Yeah, that's it.
San Jose, Southwest 1809, 10,000 for 15.
That's 1809, Austin Center, climb maintain level 2.
I flew in there with a Beach Sparrow once from Dallas to
Chicago.
Then Atlanta and back to Dallas.
That's a long one.
Yeah, but it was I was instructor. The guys, the insurance requirement was that I was on board and never been.
530, contact LA Center 133.55. 3355, 530, thank you.
When do you want to be back, John?
Up to the sun is what, 35 minutes?
Now we'll continue to go through the cockpit of the 787 Dreamliner, 787-800. It's going to be pretty much the same on the 900 when that comes out. The lower pedestals remains of this screen, the CDU, that is divided in two, left and right side, and I will talk about the left side, which is identical to the right, of course. I can, with this panel, control what I would like to see on this CDU. What we see now is a control display unit where I can control it with either this device or this little cursor control knob. And you see this mouse has a cursor has a special look. If we look at the right side, it's a little bit different, just as for fun. And with this I can control the FMC, all what it comes to navigation, performance, speeds, altitudes, routings. As I said, here we have a route page. On the left hand side we can see if there is a direct to a waypoint or a beacon, or if it's a airway. For instance, now we have all of it. Here we have airway Lima 997, and that's all the way to Europe. Departure and arrival page, where I select the runway, and if I need an arrival route and possibly a transition, I can select if it's going to be an ILS, as you see here, or a localizer. Now I will put the cursor up here. Localizer 19 right at Gardermoen, Echo November Golf Mike arrivals. So I select whatever approach we are going to execute. Or for instance, if I make a visual approach, I could select just the runway. Here we have RNAV approaches, RNV, and here I can select VOR approaches and just the runway for instance, a visual approach. Alternates, a good page to have in case we have an emergency of some sort, medical or technical problem. We can quickly see the closest airports. VNAV, vertical navigation. Right now we are in cruise mode. That means that I will enter the cruise page, Charlie Romeo Zulu. And here I can see what cruise altitude, econ speed, economical speed, and that speed is connected directly with the I will show you the cruise index on performance page over here. Cost index, in our case we always use 36, and with the weight we have, with the altitude we have, and the cost index we have, we get this economy speed. If we change the cost index, the speed will change, and I can of course change the speed on this page and several other places. TPR, TPR, as we have for the engine and thrust. This step is if we want to select the higher altitude somewhere. In this case, the FMC has itself requested flight of 410, and if we have a cow, we climb it. It calculates with climbing of 4,000 feet a minute. So when these two meet, it will come up, being a step climb. I can change this one to 0 or 2,000, whatever I would like to have. Here, this is very interesting for us. Optimum, maximum, and recommended altitude. Optimum is for performance, weight, temperature, etc. Maximum is what this can perform with this actual altitude, actual weight. And recommended is with wind included. Right now we're flying at flight level 370, so it matches pretty good. We can choose to fly higher, but not above 396. So in this case, we cannot go higher than 390. And also in this case, there's no need to go higher, other than if we, for instance, experience a lot of turbulence, or if we maybe need for traffic or for other reasons. If we believe that the wind higher is, or temperature at high altitude is better for us. Oh yeah, on in the right hand corner you can see that we are on page 2. That's a cruise page. Number 3, if I go next page, 3 out of 3, we go to economy and economy descent page. And here I can select the speeds for the descent, and also if I have speed restriction below a certain altitude or at a specific point. This page will change a little bit later on. We can see a few other things. We have other data that we don't use that much, but it could be vertical. If we start now and go down with 69 feet per minute, we will at destination have a constant descent. So a constant descent from now until landing would be 69 feet per minute. Not interesting. Forecast, descent winds, we have no winds at this time for the descent, but it's very good, I would say, to insert some altitudes and some wind direction and velocity for the descent, especially if you have a strong tailwind for the FMC to calculate a proper top of descent and a path. Page 1, you might wonder where that is. That's a climb, and since we have already completed the climb, it's not no longer possible to see. Descent now is a usable function, and that is if I leave the altitude before top of descent, and then it descends with 1,000 feet per minute until we hit the path that the FMC calculates. Fixed page, there are 4 pages that I can insert waypoints, runways, or airports, whatever I'd like. In our case, we're soon going to put in our en route alternates for the ETOPS, and if I, for instance, put in Keflavik, I will have a number of selections for bearing and distance, and I'm selecting 60 minutes ETOPS from Reykjavik and also 3 hours. So further on along our route, I will then see circles, green circles. That represents 1 hour, 429 nautical miles, or 3 hours, 1228 nautical miles. After I've selected it, it will estimate the overhead time and distance to go to these points. And if I take next page, I will go to the second page of 4, and it will be an empty one. Third and fourth, identical. Lakes page is a very often used page for navigation. Right now we're flying to position Kilo Uniform 66 Quebec. That's the one, and we can also see it up here in the right hand corner of the navigational display. I see that this the track, the distance, and the speed, economy speed, and the flight level. This column is something that we can change. We can change the speed, we can change the altitude in case we have a restriction of some sort, or for instance for the crossing of the oceanic, we will change the speed, set it to a fix of 8.4 or 8.5, or any other that we will get. Further on we see next waypoints along our route, and we could easily change that one. For instance, this one would probably not. Now it's just selected my name and try to insert that, and then if you can see that, it comes up a box in the lower location of the CDU, and it says not in database. There is no waypoint in our database that is named class, and it also says what the identifier should look like, what format it should have. And as you can see, this one does not match any one of those. So I will go here with my cursor and clear the message. I still have it in my scratch pad, and the scratch pad is cleared by this key CLR. Next one is a holding page, and it's only this one on key 6 left, and I can select any waypoint I'd like or anything else. Select this one like so, and it would go into a holding, and it selects inbound course and direction of the turn, in this case right turn, and leg times, etc, etc. But now we really don't want that, so I select erase. FSC communication, that's different other pages that we can go through and go into in case we want. Route, alternates, performance, takeoff page, reload the uplink link of the winds. As I said before, I requested to upload the links, upload the winds via ACARS, and I can reload them from here if I need an update. Descent forecast, as we were before, position report, so I can find these pages at several other locations with these keys. Progress page tells me what flight I have. It comes from Perfining page, and this is the waypoint we're going through. Distance to go, estimate time of arrival or overhead, and what fuel we should have at that time. And after that point we have Charlie Zulu India with the same information, and on the key 3 left we have destination, distance to go, and time of arrival, and fuel. That's page number 1 out of 4. I can either use next page key over here, or actually down here. Another page of the progress page. We find different information. Here we have tailwind, we have crosswind, and the present wind. So we can see this could be useful for landing. And in case we have on this aircraft maximum tailwind of 50 knots, so we could easily see what kind, if we see up here that we actually have a tailwind, and we can see how much tailwind the factor is. Fuel quantity, totalizer or calculated. Now we have selected a calculated for the fuel. Over there it is, nowhere else. Page 3 is RTA progress. If I select the waypoint, I can control the time that I will pass overhead that fix. 4th page, not that very much that we use this one. It still shows us the active waypoint that we will pass in 2.4 nautical miles, and that should almost coincide with that one. Continue down to the last key on the CDU, NAVRAD. Here comes VOR. It selects the VOR stations on its own. Now it's selected Charlie Zulu India. That's the next. And VOR left is presented over here, and parasites over there. And here's VOR right. On key 4 left, it's now parked. We don't have an ILS or GLS frequency, and when we have selected a runway, then the ILS frequency will be shown, and it will also say park. We can select courses if we want to manually control the VORs or the ADFs, but it's very rare that we actually do that. This keypad is the same as the one we have up here on the MCP or the EFIS control panel. Same. So we have 2 ways of controlling it. So if I system, that's the page we have seen. Info page that we don't use very often. Checklists, communication, as we've seen, and navigational displays. Select MFD. So that means I transfer the navigational display to the lower DU. numeric keypad, an enter key, and the alphabet with a east, west, south, and north circles, so it could be easier to find. Space, delete, slash, and clear. Previous, next page, execute. If we select direct route, we need to execute. And the cursor control pad, as I mentioned before, you can twist that one or you can push it. Let's take a little look of this one. Quite a lot of information for us. And it's got an overview of the systems on board, sys, and I have a number of headlines, I could say. Status, this one shows me the hydraulic, the left, the center, and the right, the quantity and the pressure, about 5,000. And it's not a lot of systems on the 787 that uses hydraulic, but that's what we have. APU is now shut down, therefore we don't have an RPM, no AGT, no information. But that of course pops up when we start the APU. Oxygen, crew oxygen, 1080 PSI, a lot of liters for us, no problem even if we have 4 on board. We have 2 bottles. And liquid cooling system for the very hot things. This is a thing that has been a little bit of a problem with so far. Liquid cooling, several times a status message has popped up right here saying liquid cooling left, for instance, pump, and then left has been unserviceable. Also other status messages can pop up as they come, if they come, and it could be about more or less everything. If I deselect, I think we can do that now, flight deck door power, that should be coming up, and of course it didn't. Anyway, we have a lot of possibilities to see what how the systems are doing. And in case we get a status message, it will say status on the ACAS in blue color, cyan color. Here we have the electrical. The 4 generators, Lima 1, Lima 2, that's the left engine, and right 1 and right 2, which are producing electricity, electrical power for the main buses, and that will, after that, being spread to the different users. A lot of electrical power in this aircraft. Hydraulics, once again, we have both engine driven, primary and demand. We have C1 electrical, C2 electrical, so we both have engine driven and electrical pumps. Fuel system, there are 2 pumps, forward and aft in left tank and forward and aft in right tank, and we have left and right center tank fuel pumps. In this one you can see what the quantity is in the center, in the wing tanks I should say, and here you can see how much fuel we have in the center tank. Total fuel, which also is presented right there, so we always have it in front of us. In the lower left we have the fuel temperature. Right now it's 20 degrees Celsius, which is pretty good, and you can see that also over here. The 787 doesn't have a lot of problem with the temperature. It takes a long time for the fuel to go down to minus, and it's most likely because of the wings, and it's not made of metal, so we don't have a problem with fuel temperature on the 787. When we, in a couple of hours, will turn off the center tank pumps, these greens will of course go blank, and because we now see that fuel to the both engines are fed by the center tank, and after we put the center tank pumps off, you can see that the left engine will be fed from the left main tank, and the right consequently from the right main tank. Air We have 4 cabin air pressure compressors, 1, 2, 3, and 4, and they will go through 2 packs, left pack and right pack, and then it will be providing the cabin and the different sections to the temperature that's set. We see here that the different sections in the cabin and also the lower, forward and aft and bulk, the temperatures selected in magenta and the actual white. The cabin has set 23 for master temperature, and from the left one, the left door, the purser will select how many cabin occupants, that is cabin crew and amount of passengers, and that the system will provide sufficient temperature, efficient air to produce the correct temperature. Doors frequently looked at on ground. You can even see that the lavatories, there are at least one vacant lavatory, and A is represented at each cabin door, and it says that they are now in automatic mode. Gear, we see each and every gear, we see the temperature and the pressure of the gear, and we can see that the door for the forward nose wheel is closed, and we can see that the doors for the main gears are also closed. Flight controls, trim settings, rudder and aileron, rudder position and flight control mode, normal, that's what we like to see. So in this case there are no abnormals. EFIS are displayed, that's in case of a EFIS control panel is unserviceable, we can go into this page and actually control what we see on the different screens, and we therefore can control because we need to be able to control, of course, all the information that we need to see on the navigational display. Maintenance, actually I don't use that for anything else but to go on to the fuel quantity and to look at the fuel density. In Europe we always get it in the fuel slip, the fuel receipt, but in the US quite often we get it in a different way, so we go into this one to be able to calculate the amount of kilos. The mechanics use this frequently as well as the CB page. There are no mechanical CB circuit breakers on the 787. There are only electrical ones. So I'll pick one. That was a bad choice. Let's do this one. You can see let's do flight deck circuit breakers, airplane generator lightings. There we have lightings, for instance, flight deck, and they go to CTRL control, and here is where if I need to open or close a circuit breaker. So it is everything's done electrically. I will go out of it, and that's the status page. Checklists. There are only electronical checklists on the 787, but we do have a quick reference handbook in case we need it, and in our procedures we say that we use it for emergency evacuation. Otherwise we use the electronic checklist. Next checklist that aircraft is expecting us to use is automatically coming up as soon as we push the checklist key. In this case, it expects us to use the descent or do the descent checklist, which I agree upon. And in every item that the aircraft can do itself or we have already done, it will be automatically be turned to green. If there is a checklist of non-normal conditions, I go into non-normal menu and I have a set of different checklists unannounced, and after that is according to what the item could be. For instance, we could do damage fail, shutdown thrust. This is APU shutdown, for instance, and we read as in old days, or we can still do out of the QRH. APU shutdown condition, an APU automatic shutdown occurs. Objective to reset the APU controller, and now it has ticked off APU selector is off. And if we look in the roof, you don't have to see that. I can confirm that the APU control switch is set to off. And then I just do what this one says. Now, of course, we're not going to do anything because we don't have a problem with the APU. Lower left corner, I can go back to the normal checklists, and they will go back to the descent checklist. Before each flight, we go to the reset checklist, and I can also select to do that now. And then in order to come to the descent checklist, I need to skip and override the checklists. And there we go with the navigational display again. CDU. Continuing down, once again I have the cursor control device like a mouse, something I can hold on to. I control the cursor with my fingers, whichever finger I want. It doesn't matter if it's on the lower CU, with the lower screen, DU, or the upper one. If I want to move the cursor, I can just use my finger, and there it pops up, or I can select so the LWR is the lower. And right is the right section of the navigator display, left is the left side, and EFB is actually to control and put the cursor onto the EFB. Over here I have the parking brake, alternate pitch, trim, nose down and nose up. It's very rarely used. I have the pitch trim on the control column. I have the speed brake for reducing speed airborne or actually on ground as well. It is able to arm, and that's what we do before landing. So at touchdown, the speed brake will be deployed automatically. Step trim normal, left 2, right 2, cut out is used for non-normal conditions. We have the fuel control left and fuel control right. That's to basically start up the engines. We'll put it on in order to make fuel flow into the engines. As you can see, run, they're both forward now. That means run, cut off. After landing, we put them to cut off, and that will shut down the engines. Thrust levers, left and right, and on each side, you can deselect the auto throttle. You can deselect each auto throttle. Left for left, right for right. Forward of the thrust levers, you have the reversers, and they're only able to deploy when we're on ground, and thrust levers are an idle. To the right, we have all the slots for flap. There are up 1, 5, 15, 20, 25 or 30. We can do auto lands with 20, 25 or 30, all depending upon the situation or what we, 25 or 30 for normal, and that's basically what we want. We can select either one. The higher the flap setting, the lower the landing speed. In case we make a go around, we go from 25 or 30 directly to 20. If we are on a single engine landing and we need to make a go around, we instead of 20 go to flap 1 immediately. On the right hand side, for the pilot in the right hand seat, same device to control it, and we also have the alternate flaps extension control, the guarded switch that will arm the system, and with this knob you have ret and extend or off. So we retract or we extend them. Takes a little bit of time, but it's doable. On the aft, there are several things that are the same, identical. For instance, the audio control panel for the left pilot, for the right pilot, and more or less for both, or for the third pilot. Right now we have it on VHF, very high frequency, excuse me, and active right there is 13325. It's at the moment Salt Lake Center, and to the right we have a backup. When you see the sign, the blue arrows, we can switch between the frequencies with this button, transfer, and that's not something I can do with this one, but I can select.
North Shuttle 70 AB4, contact Denver Center 133.67, get it.
Right now, good example, now pair selected 13367, that was the next center, and now he will put it up on the active. And the old frequency went to the right, so we can easily go back in case we don't get in contact with the center.
North Shuttle 7084, Denver Center.
Yep, Denver was there. So now I have data. We use the data for ACARS, and so now I can show you what. So with an easy push with the transfer, I swap places on it. And on the third radio we use 1215, the emergency, and that will be on all times. Store active, it's also something that we can use for, as it says, store active. Keypad for writing the frequencies, whatever frequency we want. The transfer, the previous page and the next page is also because we can have for in case the EFIS control panel is out of service or the lower, and we need to set manually VOR. We use a nav, or we can use go into a menu with the system power. I'm not going to swap around too much with it in case I do something incorrectly. If I, for instance, swap that one, I can here show that there are a lot of stored frequencies. You see standby 26 out of 26, and with these two arrows, it's a step. I can select any of the frequencies that are stored. Now I need to find the data again, so I can, there it was. So I want back with the data so I can send messages from my ACAR system. So next one is the high frequency, and it's exactly the same thing with just different frequencies. Sat phone, pretty much never used, but we could be used in situations where we need to call company or Medlink or any others. Cab is to call the cabin interphone. We can use this one, or we can use the phone, the fat telephone that sits over there. We can use either one. It's up to each and every one. In case I want to reach the purser, I have DR1 left. That's door 1 left. That's his or her responsibility. So if I call on DR1 left, the person, the purser, or any other of CMs being in the galley will pick up the phone. GPWS, I can control this one. This is a flap gear terrain. If we do if we have a problem with flap, for instance, we might have to override the flap and the flap warning system. And next is the weather radar. Right now we have it on auto. The weather radar will then select itself the tilt, and the weather radar on the 787 is really good. It can present a lot of weather, danger zones, danger areas for us, but we can also select into manual. That means I can control the tilt myself, up exactly as it says, or down, and that I'll do in case I would like to see the bad weather, the weather systems in a different way than what the auto will present for me. Captain has one, and the first officer has one to control. The last key on this one is the transponder, and I can of course change it now because we are under radar surveillance, but I use a keypad, getting it in the scratch pad and put it up with that one. Just push that one and the correct code ends up there. Here's an ident. Sometimes the air traffic wants us to ident. We can either put that or actually that button over there, and that means that our symbol on their screens will light up. I think it even says ident. I haven't seen it in several years. Over here I can select to see about the TCAS, the other aircraft around me. It's above, it's 2000 up or down and normal, or below. Very useful for approaches. And very often we have the transponder on this third panel. See, they are identical. So I prefer to be on the VHF now when we are at VHF range. When we then later cross, I will swap to be on HF. This one, the third, could be on weather or transponder or any other page, but this is one that we often use. Here I have the fire switches for left engine, for right engine. In case we have a severe malfunction, it's pulled as a memory item among other things, and in case we have a fire, we pull it on either direction to fire one bottle into the engine. If the fire doesn't go out, we turn it to the other side and we fire the second bottle. Just fire switches and glide slope inhibit, in case we need to inhibit the glide slope. If we're, for some reason, want to silence, that is warning us that we are below. For some reason, yeah. Transponder mode, the transponder that makes us able to see for the air traffic controllers. And we have standby mode, that is as long as we are not moving, basically. Altitude reporting off, transponder, TA only or TA-RA. And the TA-RA is for the TCAS, in case we have a traffic advisory or resolution advisory. RA, in case we get very close to another aircraft. And the two transponders communicate and orders one aircraft to descend and another to climb. And right now we have it in this mode that makes us able to avoid other aircraft more easily than if we're looking out. TA only, that's only traffic advisory. We swap that in case we have an engine failure, for instance. And on ground we also have it on, because with this transponder mode S Sierra, the ATC, even the tower, can see us on ground and easily see where we are, and therefore control all the traffic on ground, taxiing, etc. Cancelling oral for some reason, if we need that. Here we control the different radios that we want to listen into. Mine in my case, pass in this case, and this is for the third person if we have anyone sitting on the jump seat. Right now I have selected to listen to and also to send on left. This middle thing is for the data, so I can listen, but there's nothing to listen to. And I can actually put the mic and the transmit, but it's a data frequency right now, so there's no idea. And the third, the right one, that I have 1215, I cannot deselect. I can of course select to send on it, transmit on it, but I cannot deselect it. Always on. Flight with this one, and like that I communicate with ground, for instance. And then with this one I key for to transmit. But right now I have my mic in hot, so I can talk the whole time and they will hear me at any time. Cabin, in case I want to use this system to the directory and then use that button to call the cabin. PA, public address, and it's a very easy way for us when we, for instance, want the cabin crew to be seated for landing or for takeoff. We just push this button and it immediately goes out to the speakers in the cabin. Very easy. HF, if I select the HF frequencies and the mic, I will transmit on selected frequency for HF left and for HF right. Satcom, not very often used. Speaker, they're right now talking, so this is just the volume. I can select to only listen to whichever radio I have selected in my headset, but I prefer to have it a little bit on, like so. These are not very often used, but we can listen in to markers and beacons and approach markers. And right now they're deselected. Identical, as I said, and same thing goes for the right hand side. Here we have the rudder trim. Actually very rarely used. In older aircraft we used it for engine failures to trim out so we didn't have to kick so much rudder. In this aircraft it takes care of it itself. So the hardest thing with this one is that before departure, if it's not centered, we can't complete the checklist, because that's something that the aircraft will see, sense and notice itself. So we zero the rudder. ACAS event record, in case we get something that we want to make the company and the mechanics to know exactly where it happened. We can easily push that one and it will make a mark so they can easily find exactly where the event was. Floor lights, I never use that. I'll let it be what it is. Evac command. When we need to make an emergency evacuation with a QRH, we can both do a public address with this button that I spoke of before and earlier, and I can also guard that one and go into evac and on. But that one should always be guarded. Under the cable here is where I control my flight deck door, unlock, auto and deny. Right now the system is locked, so anybody who wants to come in needs to call, and I can select to turn the knob to unlock. That means that the door is unlocked and they can easily enter. Right now it's in auto, so it's locked. At this specific moment it's locked. If I can see and know or hear that the person calling me is not allowed into the flight deck and the cockpit, I can turn it to deny, or if they use the emergency code to try to get in, I can go deny and the door to the flight deck will stay locked. Again, here's it looks like an old phone, but it's something that I can use very similar to what I used here with the audio control panel. I can call any station, I can call the company, or sometimes you can even call mother if needed. I think I'll do like that. We have a printer on board that I can print anything that's being sent, or I can print maps like Jefferson charts. On the 787, it's a good feature that is commonly used in the VSD, and here we can see ourselves in profile, so that we see our new selected altitude, which is 39,000 feet, and the whole magenta line represents 39,000. And we can see the aircraft climbing and where it will be if we continue to climb with the present rate. Now the climb rate goes down slightly. That means that the white line also decreases a little bit, 1,000 to level. And when we get up to 39,000, the white line will be aligned with a red magenta line. Here we have the next waypoint, the Delta India Kilo, or Victor Lima Romeo, or K-18. On the bottom, you can see terrain, in case there is any terrain, and you could actually see what the database has for regarding the height of the terrain. In this case, it's very, very low, but as we approach, for instance, Greenland, then you could easily see where the high terrain is, and that is very useful during approaches where we have high terrain. And during descent later on, you can also see in a similar way, but of course then it's descent. We're approaching 39,000 feet, and that means that we should soon see the white line go down. Here we see what altitude is set in the MCP window, the MCP altitude window, and we have 38 speed VNAV path. Okay. And now it should start to come down slowly. You can see the vertical speed, the rate of climb is decreasing, and here it goes, slowly coming down. It's doing it very gently. It's actually hard to feel it in the back unless you really know that we are climbing or descending. It's very smooth. And voila, there we go. We are now maintaining 39,000 feet, or flight level 390. And the white line, as the aircraft compensates for wind, temperature changes, pressure changes, or anything, we can see that it will change as the airplane changes its altitude, but in very small increments. We are now 8 hours and 8 minutes into the flight toward Oslo and Gardermoen. I have had my rest, and so has Oliver. Right now, Per is in the bunk, sleeping, and he will perform the landing in approximately an hour and a half. We have left Canada behind us, and we have entered the area which includes the Oceanic, MNPS, and also already over at Canada we entered the ETOPS area. Here at this point, at NAM, we entered the Oceanic. We received the Oceanic clearance, and we have the random route assigned and determined by the company, chosen by the company. We have Kasaswak and Thule and Reykjavik, and we almost cut Greenland in two. Right now we are approaching 0 long, and that is right there, and that means that we will fairly in short time contact Bodø in Norway, and then at this point leave the MNPS and Oceanic area to go into the domestic controllers, going into radar coverage, and after that, soon after that, start the descent and approach to Oslo. And right now, the latest weather, ATIS information Golf that I have printed says that 19 right and 19 left is in use for landing. We have transition level 9.0, where we will at the latest reset the altimeters to hectopascals, and the number and for that is 989, to be seen on the bottom. Also, the wind for 19 right is 150 degrees 5 knots. We, however, expect to get 19 left. We normally get that, and it's also closer to our parking stand. So it's more interesting to see what 19 left has, and they are fine 19 left. That's actually exactly the same. Also, what I can find about 19 left is that the runway is shortened because of work in progress, WIP, and the runway 19 left is 2,440 meter available for the landing, LDA. Runways are both wet, and the wind for 19 right is a little bit variable, but at this time I don't take notice of that because I concentrate on 19 left, but I will also take 19 right into consideration in case we get that for pre-planning. 19 left has also winds variable, in this case between 040 and 200, and we have about 10 kilometers visibility for 19 left. The clouds are few, towering cumulus 2,500 feet, and then few at 2,900 feet. Temperature is 14 degrees Celsius and dew point is 8. So big split between them. So the risk of fog is not existing today. No significant changes, no SIG. So we can more or less expect that this will be the weather when we approach and arrive. With these data, I go into the landing performance of the EFB, and I find that on my EFB over here, I go to menu page and the performance page, and now I've already filled this one out, but it says performing landing en route. It says that I have a NOTAM, and it's actually the thing that was about the landing distance available because of the work in progress. And down here I can find that it has already been taken care of, so it's loaded already in our database that the landing distance available is shortened. So if I go on NOTAMs, I find this one is empty, but since we can see that the landing distance is already taken into consideration, I do not need to fill that out anymore. Otherwise, I select the runway over there after I have selected the airport. The conditions, I selected dry, but after I got this I could see that the runways are actually wet for some reason. It might be dry when we come in. I push the conditions and I just push with my finger, wet, or if I can also use the the cursor control. The decision height, I select 2.5. I can also select to ignore or just go out of that, but I go 2.5. Next is the wind, the temperature, and the QNH. These could be, the temperature could be as I can with the landing weight, be taken from the FMC, but at this altitude, and also because we have a couple of hours left, the temperature and the landing weight is not correct. So I have chosen to put in the correct AT and also calculated landing weight taken from the expected fuel consumption. On this column, I expect Per to use manual landing, otherwise I can change it to auto land if we expect the aircraft to perform a manual auto land. I believe him to use flap 30, otherwise we can select other. And anti-ice off, we don't need that. The reversers are all operational, otherwise I have a few other options if needed, but they're all operational at this time. Spoilers, I expect them to come up automatic, so therefore I have auto. Brakes, I can select either max manual, auto 1, 2, 3, 4, or max auto, that we could see what I was talking about on the flight to Los Angeles. And I can select the performance to calculate what the landing distance would be with all different ones. I have selected that all. No normal conditions. Here I can select if I have a problem with any ice leak engine, any skid, brakes, engine shutdown, and so forth. Right now we have no problems, so therefore I have selected none, and I have pushed already complete. Since I already pushed to complete, I now push cancel, and here we see that it's none. And this is what I expect the landing weight to be, and I will of course coordinate that with Per later on. And according to the procedures, we will add 5 knots for the speed, target speed, and after that I go up to calculate, and I could also see if this was in magenta, I have not filled out all the boxes correctly. Now it can accept what I have inserted, so I will push the calculate, and it will take a few seconds before it will show me what its calculations are. And there we go. En route landing data for 162,000 kilos says VREF 30 plus 5 is 145 knots. And we can see with max manual brake, it expects the landing distance to be 1,669 meters. If I use auto brake 1, I will actually require more and longer distance than the landing distance available is. We said 2440 meters, and it's obviously less than what auto brake 1 needs. So auto brake 1 is not possible. Neither is auto brake 2, same reason. So Per needs to do auto brake 3, 4, max auto, or max manual. That is, I would expect him to use auto brake 3, but that's it's up to him. Max auto is not needed. That will make us use max or the brakes a little bit too much. And if I want to, I can later on send that one to the FMC, but I won't do that just yet. And that's it. Well, I started in 1981 with flying gliders and kept on doing that for quite a while, but moved on to with PARD, private pilot license, and I spent a few years in the Air Force, not as a pilot but as an engineer, but I was a poor and lousy one, probably Northern Europe's worst and lousiest engineer, so I started flying instead as professional, and I flew small aircraft in the beginning, and I lifted skydivers, I towed gliders, I flew taxi, I flew cargo, and moved up to fly a little bit bigger airplanes with jets. Changed companies a couple of times, and had a couple of positions as space commander and instructor and checker on the 737, and then I went to Asia a couple of years. Quite a good experience, I would say, since it's very different from my own culture and my own way of work, I think, but still a good experience. And since the beginning of Norwegian long haul, March in 2013, I am nowadays captain on the 787 Dreamliner. I find this airplane to be a pilot's aircraft. It's thoroughly thought through, even though there are some things. It's a new airplane, so things are not exactly put to place as they never are with whatever if we talk about cars or new airplanes. It's always a few child diseases, sort of. We have approximately 1 hour to go before landing in Gardermoen, and I am advised not to tell how many times I've been married, so instead I will eat my breakfast that contains of some fresh fruit, a little bit of yogurt and some bread, and after that I will deadhead out of Oslo, and in a couple of days I will fly out of Copenhagen to New York, twice actually, and then I will be off for a couple of days.
Okay, so the briefing. Are you ready?
Ready.
Okay, so we're going to Oslo Gardermoen and coming in over Belgium, and then we expect the Belgium to Mike arrival. We have Belgium in the FMC, which is checked. Speed limit of 250 knots. Then we continue to Agnil, and then Golf Mike 432, flight level 110, 220. And we're turning left in that case to track 247 to Golf Mike 433, then Golf Mike 434, down to Golf Mike 435 and a hard altitude of flight level 110. And right turn track 107 to Bavad with initial approach fix, and we should have that at 5,000 feet. And that's 5,000 feet and above, and then we will expect coming in for the approach. The minimum sector altitude 3,900 feet in this area for the approach. And then we expect ILS to 19 left, which is plate 11.3. ILS localizer 19 left, localizer frequency is 11055. And then we have an inbound course of 194 degrees. Platform altitude start at 3,500 feet, we have at Extiva. Then we have a standard 3-degree glide slope. Going down the minimum of 881, set on both sides for normal Cat 1. Required visibility for us in this case should be 550 meters RVR, but the weather is fine. In case we miss the approach, go around flaps 50. Post rate, get the gear up, and we start climbing on the heading 194 to distance 3, turning left to 104, climbing to 3,000 feet, and at 13 DME, going in DME 13, and continue climb 5,000 and expect radar vectors, and we expect coming back for new approach. Okay, we use auto brake 3, we use flap 30, VREF 145 plus 5, flight speed 150. And anything else you have to add on that? We're going to come to the taxi part.
And we have both checked the weather?
Yes, the weather is checked.
It's good. Weak winds from the south.
Yes, wind is 150.5, so there's hardly any wind. Yeah. No need to worry about the connections. And we can turn off at the latest at Bravo 3. And then another right turn on Sierra. Continue on that up to Lima or Juliet to the end of the ramp there. I don't know which stand we will get, but we get one of those up there.
Yeah.
Are you happy with that?
You said 989 yesterday.
Yes.
I will soon get a new 8.
Yeah.
And we had a few things from the cabin, and we were going to request 2 chairs.
Check.
Your controls.
My controls.
Norway, good afternoon, North Shuttle 7084 Heavy, flight level 335, descending 310 to Belgium.
North Shuttle 7084 Norway, hello, cleared Belgium to Mike, descend flight level 120.
Belgium to Mike, descend flight level 120, North Shuttle 7084.
Okay, flight level 120 set, clear the Belgium to Mike, as briefed.
Checked.
Minimums is 881 set.
We're 30, 140, target 145. Bar minimums 881. Approach briefing.
Completed.
Checklist, descent checklist complete.
Norway, North Shuttle 7084. We'd like to turn a little bit to the left, about 10 degrees to avoid.
North Shuttle 7084, and that is approved when clear direct Bavad.
When clear direct to Bavad, North Shuttle 7084.
Check.
Approach, good afternoon, North Shuttle 7084 Heavy, 137 descending 120, back to Bamad with information, Juliet.
First Scandinavian 4022, turn right, heading 075, descend to 4,000 feet.
You know he's seeing the camera.
Exactly.
4,000 feet.
He could see that. He could see that.
North Shuttle 7084, allow descent flight level 100, information Juliet, expect ILS approach, runway 19 right.
Descend 100 and 19 right, I presume 19 left is not available?
It's not available due weather.
That's copied, North Shuttle 7084.
Okay, you put in 19 right for me.
North Shuttle 7084, descend to 4,000 feet, cleared ILS approach, runway 19 right.
Descend 4,000 feet and cleared ILS approach 19 right, North Shuttle 7084.
4,000 feet, clear for approach, checked, and flap 5.
And localizer glass
North Shuttle 813, compensate ODD, descend to 5,000 feet. Take ODD 5,000 feet, North Shuttle 813.
I keep the speed a little bit so I get down.
North Shuttle 1041, inbound to close descending 0. North Shuttle 1041, hello, descend to 7,000 feet, Canadian 988, runway 19 right. Altitude 7,000 feet, Canadian 988, for 19 right, North Shuttle 1041. North Shuttle 7084, please keep speed 180 or greater till 7 miles.
180 or greater till 7, North Shuttle 7084.
Okay, 180 great, 7 miles.
Checked.
North Shuttle 1041, reduce speed to 210 knots. 210, North Shuttle 1041.
Localized capture, checked.
North Shuttle 813, reduce speed to 200 knots, will be falling heavy on final. Are you able to 10 to the right? North Shuttle 813, turn right by 10 degrees, descend to 4,000 feet. Right 10 degrees, 4,000 feet, North Shuttle 813.
Flap 50 just to make sure we get to slow
North
down.
Shuttle 7084, contact tower 118.3, call sign and speed only. Goodbye.
1183 with a speed and call sign, North Shuttle 7084. Goodbye.
Okay, we got on the right side.
Good afternoon, North Shuttle 7084 Heavy, speed 180.
North Shuttle 7084 Heavy, good afternoon. North Shuttle 110, Alpha 5, contact ground 121.6. North Shuttle 7084 Heavy, wind 290 degrees, 3 knots, runway 19 right, clear to land.
Cut down 19 right, North Shuttle 7084.
Check, runway in sight.
Checked.
May North Shuttle 7084 reduce speed?
A4,
Thank you.
Okay.
Radio altimeter.
Checked.
Checked. Gear down. Flaps 20. And landing checklist.
Chemical is given. Landing checklist complete.
Check. The land checklist complete. Land 3.
Roll and flare up.
Okay, och pilot's coming out.
Flight director.
New parking, stand 171.
1000.
Check, stabilized, BMC. Checked.
Check.
Approaching minimums.
Continue.
And you said contact before, so...
Yes.
Minimums. $50, $30, $20, $10.
Speed brake, up. Reverse is normal. And 6 knots.
Check. Your control.
Our controls. Very nice. Paramount, an excellent landing on wet runway. We were just clear the rain showers. We have blocked in, engines are shut down, checklist is complete, and I'm just now waiting for the doors to open so we can get the in time in order to fill out the logbook. Mission completed, and now we go to different places. Oliver and Perry is going to London, and I'm going to Stockholm and Copenhagen, and next mission is just around the corner.